Whenever you're ready, put it live and go. Unmute.
Thank you for joining our webinar today. We'll be focused on sharing how you can leverage Microsoft Teams and Project to plan more successfully and deliver your projects in your enterprise. My name is Annie Levand, and I'm with a Microsoft Gold partner called PROJILITY. We've been implementing Microsoft project and portfolio management solutions for over 17 years for large enterprises, including everything from engineering, construction, IT, and new product development. PMOs and CIOs typically come to us when they can't easily explain what's going on across all their projects. They don't know what resources are working on what work, and they have a hard time getting consistent reports and metrics to make project-based decisions. We're known for having a 98% on-time, on-budget track record for successfully implementing these solutions for clients. We offer services and solutions in 3 core areas: deployment and consulting services, PROJILITY's core business. We provide professional services for successfully planning and implementing Microsoft Project Portfolio Management, including Microsoft Project Online, integrating PPM with a line of business applications, and delivering strategic portfolio management solutions that support top-level management planning. We also have a growing Microsoft Power Platform practice where we are actively working with clients to build applications, workflows, and reports to automate their most important business processes. PROJILITY also offers a set of pre-built software solutions and accelerators based upon 17 years of experience, including a set of Hammerhead products that provide improved access to your cloud PPM data, accelerate access to visual reports and dashboards using Power BI, connect data between your PPM system with Microsoft Teams, and extend connectivity into Active Directory to improve visibility, insight, and control over your work, people, and projects. Finally, PROJILITY provides post-implementation support services, including expert care, designed to assist your PMO with gaining on-demand expertise on the solution supported. We have a full online automated e-learning offering that can improve consistency and adoption for your users of Microsoft management tools. We do have a set of upcoming webinars covering different PPM and PM related topics, including managing programs in Microsoft PPM Project and a deep dive into Microsoft's Power Platform. You won't want to miss it. All webinars will start at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can register for one or multiple events through the Eventbrite link provided or by searching Eventbrite PROJILITY in your browser. Hope you can join us for these sessions, which were designed based upon your feedback over the last 6 months. If you missed the PROJILITY's annual Fall Virtual Project Conference in October, you can now watch it online. It's broken into speaking sessions from Abercrombie & Fitch, the state of Indiana, and Microsoft sharing insight and best practices into use and adoption of project management and PPM solutions. You can visit the link here, which takes you to the YouTube playlist with these videos posted. All videos from this and previous series are available on our best practice playlist on YouTube listed on this page. Topics range from managing your digital transformation program using PPM technologies to integrating PPM with a line of business applications. Feel free to subscribe and access this library at any time and share with your colleagues. With that, I'll hand the presentation over to Rob Hirschman, partner here at PROJILITY. Rob, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Annie, and thanks everyone for joining today. What we're going to be talking about today really has to do with how Microsoft Project and Teams can work together. We're going to give you a little bit of context first in terms of what quote unquote modern project management looks like. What's changed in the industry? Where did we come from? Where are we moving to based on what the analysts say and what customers are saying right now? And also talk through some things like what is the impact COVID has had on the way we work? That does impact using tools like Project and Teams, how we're going to interact with those tools. We'll talk through a maturity model we've seen with a lot of our clients that talks through, hey, given where you are in the maturity scale, what tools can and should you be using? How should you be deploying these? Give you some recommendations and best practices. Finally, we'll give you a demonstration and walk you through some examples of how you can actually crawl, walk, run with some of this technology, and finish up with ways to get started if you're going to go down the sort of deploying Project and Teams together. What does that look like? Give you access and some guidance on some accelerators we made available, as well as answer any questions you may have. If you do have questions, you can log them in the Q&A manager here in Teams, and we'll take those towards the end. Let's start by talking a little bit about what traditional project management tools provide. First and foremost, they were always built to manage project schedules. How much time do I have? What's the work, the duration, the units, kind of the core Microsoft Project desktop schedule, managing that at an enterprise level. Then we move into managing resources. Who are the people? What are the roles associated with different projects that we're going to be leveraging on and across our projects? That's a big requirement. A lot of project management solutions are set up to collect time from team members so you know what people are working on from a project and non-project perspective. So they do have time sheeting capabilities and also reporting on all this data. We want different kinds of reports, whether it's status on a project, a program, a portfolio, health and risk, having KPIs or OKRs as they're called now, be able to get really good information out of your project management system. We also use project management tools traditionally to organize project artifacts, things like deliverables and documents, anything we would want to deliver as part of the project, and then we can go back and review that over time and build templates out of those. We use these project management tools to manage the portfolio as a whole and looking at different portfolios and subgroupings of projects to make sure we're investing in the right technologies, the right processes, and it's importantly the right projects that are going to implement those. And we also assist with a lot of the project management process automation, whether we're taking a procedure or process such as project intake or project request inflows and using that and capturing all the project requests in one place, routing those for approvals to make sure we have consistent governance and approvals. This is really the look at how traditional project management tools work. And really what's happened over the last couple of years is this is changing. We're going to talk about, where we've come from, where we're going right now, what some of these tools are really designed to do, and how you can start to think about that from a technology perspective. So if we think about some of the trends that are out there, in the late 1990s, we had really the movement to centralize scheduling, building Gantt and PERT charts and building work breakdown structures and be able to start to centralize those and share those with different team members. This in the late 90s and early 2000s moved to what we call enterprise project scheduling, or EPM, which was really the first iteration of PPM. That's where we're doing basic collaboration with team members on documents and artifacts. We've got enterprise schedules, which tie into enterprise resources and start tracking enterprise time across projects all in one place. So really the professionalization of project management tools at an enterprise level. We saw the first enterprise database-driven systems, tools like Project Server and Project Central. Primavera came out with its first wave, Artemis, Niku, Clarity, PlanView, all these tools came to market. And we also saw the first rollout of what we call portfolio management tools. That was really taking investment management concepts from Wall Street and applying those to making investments in different projects. Tools like Pacific Edge and ProSite were really out there that led the way along with UMT. In the 2000s and early 2010s, we saw kind of the really professionalization of enterprise project management as a discipline. Gartner and some of the analysts started to pick that up and started to write about that. We saw the integration of collaboration technologies. As web portals were becoming more common, project management tools and web portals started to merge. So we started to see tools like SharePoint and SharePoint on-premise start to merge with tools like Project and Project Server, all into a central collaborative project management environment. So it became more collaborative project management along with enterprise project management. We saw kind of the emerging wave of portfolio management tools as these tools started to mature. A lot of those got acquired by bigger players. That's why you don't see ProSite or Pacific Edge out there anymore. They were acquired by other players and rolled into those technologies. And EPM became really a mainstream concept between 2007 and 2010. Between 2010 and the early 2020s, project portfolio management became all the buzz. How do I leverage my investments, my projects, my initiatives, all of my work all in one place? But we also saw the emergence of Agile, and the first wave of Agile tools started to roll out. Tools like Jira and version 1 and Rally, but project portfolio management as a strategy, as a discipline, started to separate itself out from pure enterprise project management. So it became more important to have a strategic decision-making framework separate from your project management framework and bringing those together in a consolidated whole approach. So we started to see the breakout of the market there. And finally, we started to see some industry consolidation, the buying of different products by bigger players. Why is all of this important? Well, there are some things that have happened really over the last 5 years that have really driven these different tools and how you're going to be selecting which project management tool or tools you're going to use and how you're going to leverage that through tools like Microsoft Teams. The first of those is Agile. Agile taking hold as a mainstream concept, as a mainstream methodology for IT development organizations, but also across a lot of business-driven organizations, marketing and finance and operations starting to drive more Agile frameworks, whether it's Kanban or using sprints or going to Safe Agile. Agile is a really, really important change in the industry. We also saw the entry of millennials into the workforce around 2012, 2013. They have different expectations of how technology and tools are going to work. They look at tools from the 90s and early 2000s really as we looked at them as mainframe technologies and client server technologies. Their expectations are light it up, turn it on. It should be very visual, intuitive, mobile, and work very, very easily. And as millennials start to take management jobs in a lot of these larger companies, their demands are starting to drive what tools we select and how we use those. We also started to see the emergence of work management tools. These were tools designed really not to do project management, but to allow these information workers and kind of part-time project managers to organize their work in web-based tools. These are subscription services that are out there, such as Asana and Basecamp and Monday.com and Smartsheet, where people could subscribe and start using them. They didn't need a heck of a lot of training, and they could start to manage their work. Now, those tools started to mature into project management tools as well, as these companies that issued the technologies learned people are also managing projects. And finally, we started to see a lot of industry consolidation. Tools like Clarity and Rally were bought up by Broadcom, PlanView bought LeanKit and ProjectPlace, ChangePoint bought Adaptive, and Oracle bought pretty much everything else out there, Primavera and ProSite. So this is really important because we have new players in the marketplace, we have new technologies in the marketplace, and we have new methodologies and trends in the marketplace that are going to drive what tools you select, tools you select from a project and portfolio management selection. So we wanted to give you a little bit of background in terms of this, because this is going to influence some of the direction that we see from a lot of these companies, and specifically Microsoft. And Microsoft's product vision, which was really developed about 4 or 5 years ago around Microsoft Project, went from one which was focused mainly on project portfolio management to really broadening to what you see on the left, looking at it from a modern work management strategy and vision that allows teams to work the way they want in flexible, agile ways or structured, coordinated ways. Executives get the information they need so they can aggregate this information easily and make decisions, and project teams will work with the tools they want to use as well. The concept behind Microsoft Project has really changed from just a scheduling tool or a project portfolio management tool as really a technology that empowers organizations to achieve better results, aligning investments, projects, resources, and strategies in a flexible way all through the cloud. And that's a very different vision if you would have talked to Microsoft 10 or 12 years ago about where Project was going. So this, combined with some of the changes in the industry and the market, are really driving how you can leverage the Microsoft tools and which tools you should be selecting. So what does this mean to you all in a PMO and an IT organization? First, there's a really good chance you're going to have multiple project management related tools from different vendors in your environment. That's just the reality of where the market is today. Also, it's really important, as you'll see in the second big box, is to develop some kind of an integration strategy between the different kinds of work processes people have and the tools you're going to be supporting. You may have agile groups that are using a tool like Azure DevOps or Jira. You may have structured PMOs that are using tools like Project and Project Online. You may have lighter touch groups, maybe business or operations groups, that are using a project for the web. Having a strategy to bring this information together from an enterprise level, allowing people to use the tools you make available to them, but having that in a common architecture is really, really important. And this to us is a really, really big opportunity. If you think about it from a PMO perspective, a PMO is really designed to do administration, but also governance. And if there are multiple methodologies and multiple tools, the PMO should be involved in that process. It should allow for flexibility where it's needed and structure where that's needed as well. And so the reality here is you may be involved in evaluating different tools you never would have looked at before down at the bottom box. We call them non-traditional project management tools. For example, you may have folks in the marketing group that are doing marketing or creative project management, maybe mergers and acquisitions or operations project management, maybe facilities comes to you with a specific set of requirements, or maybe you have a large program, a transformation program. These groups all have different needs, and trying to shoehorn them into one tool generally doesn't work very well. You'll find most of those groups kind of will push back on that. So you want to involve them in the decision-making process about their tools, but also provide some enterprise architecture, some guidance and structure. What we're also seeing is while this is happening, traditional PPM tools like a Project Online are continuing to be deployed. They're continuing to be supported by PMOs around the use cases we talked about with portfolio management and resource management and project management. The reality is some of these non-IT groups may not have those needs, or agile teams may not have the same needs, but at a PMO level, you may need to aggregate and roll that information up. So what we're starting to see is really teams starting to emerge as potentially the glue between a lot of these pieces and components. And that's what you're going to see in our demonstration today as we walk through the next couple slides in the demo, is that teams can bring this information together. It can provide a wrapper and allow people to work as you want them working, but bring it all together in a common user interface so everybody can see the information that needs to see it and track it, even though they're in different tools doing their jobs every day. Okay, so there's a great opportunity here for the PMO. So, with all these changes happening, the way work is performed, then COVID hits, and COVID made it an absolutely perfect storm for remote work. And there were some foundational changes that have occurred really over the last 24 months or so based on COVID. And I wanted to walk through those with you because they do impact the model we're going to show you next. With everyone being remote, project and work management technology has been absolutely more critical than it ever was before. Initially, it was a nice to have. Now you have to have it because everybody's working in a different place. Our habits are changing. We're adapting to this new environment, and not only how and when we work, but what tools are we going to be using? What we wear? Are we on video or not? Really basic, subtle cultural changes are happening, and that impacts the technology we choose. The second one down is a battle that really it started during COVID and is really emerging, more important today, a battle between Microsoft Teams and Zoom, right? And this is really important because these technologies, specifically Teams, is becoming almost like a modern operating system. Whereas before you rolled out, a Windows operating system and lots of applications, now organizations, because people spend 90% of their day in Teams, they want to roll applications out through Teams. So it's really becoming kind of the window into the work world that a lot of organizations are adopting, mainly because they had to during COVID, but with lots of people working hybrid, they're continuing to use the same technology. Importantly, we're continuing to see more and more data sprawl across enterprises as organizations continue to use different technologies, and that is a great opportunity to aggregate or bring the information together. And as we move from chaos to control, more than ever, we need better project management tools. We need to know what projects are we doing, how is the work performing, what are the critical resources, and how do we plan and reallocate money and work and people so if something like this should happen again, everybody is prepared to do the work. So COVID really changed how we work and where we work, but also it started to introduce a new platform for work in purely being online. So with this in mind, how do we address this as an enterprise and organization? So we at PROJILITY tend to think about things in terms of a maturity model. Do you want to crawl and get started with really basic functionality? Are you in a stage where you're walking, you're beyond the basics and you're kind of in that intermediate stage? Or do you want to start to run and really sprint to the finish and you really are a pretty advanced organization? We tend to look at this from a process and technology perspective. So if we think about crawling is doing very basic scheduling. We want to build a task plan or a work plan of all the activities on our projects. We want to be able to go in and progress the tasks. We want to be able to store documents related to the project all in one place. We want to have some kind of basic reporting, and we want to track some kind of basic metadata about our projects. Those are the foundational elements of really crawling in a project management environment. The technology we're typically seeing adopted these days, Microsoft Teams, Project for the Web, which is Microsoft's lighter touch project management tool designed for business or occasional project managers. It's a really good fit for that use case. SharePoint Online for document management, because SharePoint is the technology behind Teams. Using OneNote for unstructured meeting collaboration and keeping all your meeting notes in one place. Power BI for reporting, and then extending that out through tools like Power Apps to tap into data in other systems or building specific applications to capture project metadata. So the crawl model, the first thing we're going to show in the demo, really focuses on that really basic set of needs that most business project managers or basic PMOs need. As we get into walking, we're layering more functionality on top of that and more processes. We're starting to look at a formal project intake and request process, which may be blown out into full staged ideation. We want to have some kind of approvals around those project requests because we want people to understand where projects are in the life cycle and have management approving projects before they move forward. We want to implement resource management, and this can be very basic in terms of we've got certain roles on certain projects, or it could be everything into demand management. We need certain roles on certain projects. Here's what people with those roles are doing. Here's their availability. Here's their location, all the way down to capacity planning. We want to do some kind of task management and potentially tie that into time tracking, where we have team members reporting their actual progress so project managers can forecast forward. We want to track issues and risks because we want to understand what the potential problems and the actual problems on projects are so we can mitigate those from PMO perspective. And we also want to start doing basic portfolio management, the aggregation of projects, maybe in a more tactical way to see what projects and what investments we're thinking about from a plan and actual perspective in different groupings or portfolios and start to take on tracking some basic agile work within our environment. For these technologies, from a PMO perspective, remember, we're not on the development side. We're looking at Teams. We start looking at Project Online, which is Microsoft's full PPM application. We have SharePoint Online, OneNote, Power BI, and then curiously, you'll see Planner here. A lot of organizations start with Planner and then they grow up into one of these technologies. We tend to see Planner as a way to track kind of the meeting actions that come out of different meetings you have during your project status meetings, action items that don't belong in a project schedule. Planner is a really good collaboration tool in a project management context to support that. So more advanced organizations use Planner for this function in a project management context because it allows you to assign different tasks to different people. But the PM really wants to know the overall status of the task and the health. As we move into running is where we're really moving forward with a mature organization. We're going from kind of more of administration to governance. And this is where we want to get into things like capacity planning. How many resources do I have? What is their availability? What's my capacity to deliver? Looking 1, 3, 6, 9, 12 months out, starting to forecast demand against capacity, really an important part of this. Being able to manage the entire portfolio project management lifecycle in a central place to track what's in what stages and how long do things sit in stages, and are things sitting too long in a certain review stage or a selection stage. Being able to do enterprise scheduling, and that's where we've got cross-project dependencies, relationships, master schedules, where we're managing programs as well, which are made up of lots of interdependent projects and non-project related activities, being able to capture program information, integrating our agile work into our PPM work so we can have statusing and forecasting together, tracking project financials, either at a top level or a detailed level, and finally being able to look at things from a strategic perspective around doing more strategic governance and portfolio management. Again, building on the technologies you saw on the left, Teams, Project Online, SharePoint Online. This is where we may start to integrate in an agile tool like an Azure DevOps and start to do reporting across those. A lot of more mature organizations also put in place data warehouses. They're using SQL Azure or a PPM data warehouse or Power BI Premium, and really starting to aggregate data from these different systems so they can map OKRs and KPIs and track progress and metrics. So you can see you can start with a crawl, start with a walk, a run, or build from one to the other. And what we're going to show you in the demo is kind of examples of each of these scenarios. Now, once we get beyond run, when we're truly in a governance stage, that's where we're flying. And that's where organizations are really moving to become a lot more strategic. We're not talking about that today. That's pretty far down the road with most organizations. We do have another seminar on strategic portfolio management where we'll get into that topic. For today, we're going to focus on the crawl, the walk, the run. So let's get into our demonstration now. I'm going to get into Office 365 here. And I'm logging in as a power user. And I'm going to go into Microsoft Teams here. So what we're going to show you is first that crawl state. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a project, marketing project, marketing campaign planning. I'm just going to open this up. And so for every project we're managing, we are going to have a team, which is at the top level, the marketing campaign planning team. You see we have different tabs up here. So first we have a view into the project schedule, and this is using Project for the Web. So when you come in here and you add the project app into Teams, it's actually pointing you automatically to Project for the Web, not Project Online. And this is where maybe your marketing team would build out their marketing campaign plan. They're building their strategy, their business landscape. It's a very basic project where you've got people are assigned to tasks. You've got a duration, a start, a finish, a dependency, and that's pretty much it. We can visualize this information on a Kanban board, so we can put things in buckets. We can see what's in progress, what's done, what's for director review, and then we can filter this and see, who are things assigned to. So when you sit in a status meeting, your marketing team, Sarah, how are you doing on the SWOT analysis? How's it going on the business model? How are we doing on the global strategy? Then you can go in and you can update it and say, she's about 75% done with this, update the task, move on to the next one. So we can have a visual Kanban. We can also drag and drop and say this task, Sarah doesn't have time to do it. Sunny, we're going to reassign it to you. This is all using the Project for the Web technology under the covers. We can then look at a visual Gantt chart of the project and start to map out the different tasks and activities and relationships. And as a project manager, if something's going to push, this is going to push out a week, I can drag it out to the beginning of July, and I can see what the impact on the rest of my project is. So it's a very visual, intuitive, web-based interface. So remember, this is really the crawl stage using Project for the Web. And finally, we can look at charts, and these will show us, what people are assigned to what tasks and activities. Do I have a lot of unassigned work? That may be a bad thing. Also, what bucket are things in for director review, contractor updates needed. And finally, we also have a tab here for people. This is all built into Project for the Web to see for each person, Sarah, Sunny, Tom, what tasks are associated with each person. And again, I can go in here, add documents, add relationships, update it, reassign it to other people, or just drag and drop tasks to different people to assign them to tasks. So if you think about kind of the new way of working, modern project management tools, that's really what Project for the Web is designed for. And again, this is really great for kind of small to mid-sized projects for your business project managers. We move on to our tabs, though there's lots of other information we're going to leverage. On every project, we are going to have status meetings and minutes and notes. That's where OneNote is a great fit. So simply by inserting the OneNote for the project, when we create it, it will show up here and we can start to add our status meeting minutes, action items, all that can be captured here in Microsoft Teams. The back end of this is OneNote living in SharePoint. If we want to store our project documents, we can either use the native files library here, Or when Project for the Web creates a project, it also can create a group, an Office 365 group, and a SharePoint site for that group. That's where you would store and manage all of the project documents. So our marketing team has invoices, deliverables, design images. Everything is right here and easily accessible through Teams, which they can collaborate on. Additionally, if you wanted some basic reporting, this is where we could get Power BI, where the marketing team can go in and look at, well, where's all my work, and show me every task I have that is late right now, or that is on track, or tasks that are coming up in the future, or ones that are overdue. Or I can say, show me every task for my entire team that is in the administrative division bucket. So we can report on buckets, tasks, resources, whatever information we want, and narrow it down to exactly, hey, show me all the stuff on the marketing team event and what tasks are late, who's responsible for them, how far along are they, and by the way, it would have a link right to the task. And we can have different kinds of reports depending on what we wanted to see to my tasks. We can have a visual of the timeline. Hey, here's all of my work, and here's how it's playing out on my projects and tasks and activities, as well as things like an overall project timeline if you wanted to see that as well. So we can use integrated Power BI, tapping into the data in Project for the Web, to do some basic reporting here. Finally, if we wanted to put this on a visual roadmap, this is yet another app Microsoft released, and this is all available in Project for the Web, where you can build out a visual roadmap. So this project may be part of a broader marketing strategy we have, where we're doing website updates, finance team updates, and a campaign. I just want to take a look and see how they're all doing. And by the way, set these top level dates. We can use the road mapping feature for this and insert that in our team. So you think about this is kind of the crawl stage. And then finally, if we wanted to go in and capture project related metadata, this is where we would use something like a Power App. We can do is we can surround Project for the Web with a Power App. So every project, the marketing campaign, would have lots of information about it. The stage, the priority, is it part of a program we have? What's the detailed business case? What are the financials for this project? Our budget is 50K, our forecast, we've spent 12K, we've got 38K remaining. Have we seen any benefit if we wanted to map that? And finally, funding sources. And then we can look at things like risks, issues, changes, but also capture things like project status. So it gives us the basic information to build an app around our project information in a very crawl-based environment, and then report off that information if we wanted to as well. So that gives you an example of what crawl looks like, again, using Project for the Web, using Power BI for reporting, using SharePoint Online for the documents and collaboration, and OneNote in there as well as a Power App here built around that. So now we're getting to more of a PMO organization. What would that look like? So let's take a look at another project we have. I'm just going to search for it because lots of us have lots of teams. And this is the health assessment reporting tool. This is a formally managed project that was initiated by the PMO that has a project manager. It's got 15 or 20 team members associated with it. And you'll see there are certain tabs that are set up for this project. So right within the team, we can take a look and the team can share in the project schedule. This is the first thing we're going to see. So if the team is interested in, what's going on the project, what are the tasks and activities? And by the way, I know I need to conduct needs analysis. What comes after that? And what comes before that? So I have a sense of context and who's working on what and what's the progress of different tasks and activities. The ability to view the schedule and different subsets of the schedule is a really, really powerful part of this. This schedule is all being managed and housed in Project Online. So we're at that walk phase right now. We're standardizing on our documents and our document templates. When we start a new project in Project Online, it's initiating a SharePoint site with all the different document libraries and deliverable types. Build, change control, contracts, document design, requirements templates, they're all automatically associated with it, and these stay with the project throughout the lifecycle. And as a user, again, I'm coming into Teams, I'm going into the project, and I'm updating the information I need to, whether it's updating or adding a different document. I can also, as a manager, go in and update the risks and issues. So maybe the project manager wants to go and create a new risk or an issue. They can do that through Teams, and then they can assign these risks and issues to different individuals, and they can get notified through Teams as well. And one of the great things about Teams is the ability to do app mentions and conversations. So maybe you wanted to have a conversation with somebody, maybe Todd Henry. Todd Henry, I see you have this issue. When will it be resolved? And you can send that out and you have a full conversation, and that conversation is happening, issues, documents, schedules, all the great parts of Teams surrounding your project management data and content, so you have collaboration around that as well. Action items, and I mentioned this before, this is really a great use case for Microsoft Planner. So you come out of a status meeting, you've got action items, meeting minutes, you can create in Planner specific activities out of that, send out a financials deck to Fred. I can assign it to someone specifically, maybe Todd Henry. Todd will get notified of that. I can say, Todd, I really need you to do this by next Friday. And then I can save that. And then he is always reminded of that task or activities that's out there, and he can check it off as done. And I know that's an activity that came out of the status meeting. It's not a high enough level where it's going to go into my project schedule, but it's an activity I still want to track and keep somewhere and keep it out of someone's to-do list. Planner is a great use case for that as well. Just like in the crawl scenario with walk, we have our status meetings, everything going on in a OneNote notebook that's all accessible by the different team members. We can track our deliverables. Part of Project Online includes the ability to schedule out deliverables and do deliverable management in the tool. We may want to capture project financials, and this may be something that's a little more advanced, whether it's costs and resources on projects or having kind of a burn on resources, budget, actual, and forecast over time. We can capture all that in one place here. Finally, from a reporting perspective, we can run our project status directly out of Teams. And this is using Power BI, connecting into your project management data to run an on-demand status report. So for the health assessment reporting project, I can see all the information in one place. We're going to review this with our team members during the status meeting. Here's the project from a trending perspective. It's in the red, but it's trending positive. Budget is red, schedule is yellow, resources are green. Down here, I can see all of the tasks and activities. And if I hover over one, I'll see more information about that specific task or activity, where I can go right to it to see the key milestones and whether they're ahead or behind on schedule. We also have context. So the project manager is updating information in the PM system about accomplishments and goals. And down here, we have different tabs. Maybe we want to look at, who's working on this project. And we can see the engineers are spending a lot of time on this project during certain months of the project. Other resources are not. So what's going on the project from a resource perspective? We can start viewing and tracking project risks. So assuming the project manager is capturing and triaging these, show me just the category 3 risks, maybe 2 and 3, and show me what are they, who are they assigned to, how are they being managed? And look, I've got a $100,000 risk here. I may really want to focus my eye just on that one and figure out what's the problem and is that one being mitigated or not. I can do the same thing with project issues. These are problems now. Things like we have HIPAA compliance issue, a new issue. Again, just focusing our eye on just the biggest issues we have. And finally, being able to report on a burn down. It's great to know, how much we've spent, but when are we going to spend through our money? And when does our work roll up as well? When are we finishing all of our work? These are the kind of reports you can get through Power BI, leveraging this in a walk scenario. So this is a pretty good example of what walk looks like from a formalized structured project, maybe being run by a formal project manager. Let's take this up a level. Let's go to the PMO. So let's go to the PMO team, and the PMO team is going to have its own team and its own channel here. Now we're going to be thinking of things at a more governance level. We want to think about, do we have a central web page, a homepage for our PMO, where we share our workflows, our life cycle, our procedures and processes, but also our standard templates. Most organizations have these in SharePoint. Great thing, we can integrate this in. SharePoint is the backend technology. People can go into Teams at a PMO level and find all the stuff they need. We can start to aggregate all our projects to more of a portfolio level and view the project center here, coming in through Project Online. So we can quickly and easily view different portfolios, the maintenance portfolio, the systems portfolio. It's all quickly and easily accessible. And then we can drill into specific projects we have in each portfolio. We may want to do some resource planning here as well. And this is, again, a portfolio view where we can take a look at different resource profiles we have. We can go in and look at their capacity, look at all the requests, look at the demand for resources. We're starting to think more governance level versus pure administrating a specific project. And now we can start doing some resource forecasting and planning and start looking at who's working on what projects and what activities over what period of time. We can also use this as an ideation hub. So maybe we have a project idea list, the big idea box. We can allow people to come in and submit ideas right through Microsoft Teams, right through here. And then we can do the analysis and route those for potential projects. We can also look at some strategic portfolio reports. And now we can use Power BI to look across the portfolio and start saying, well, initiative-wise, show me as an executive every project that reduces expenses right now, and how are those projects doing? What is our total cost savings for that part of the portfolio? And what's our new revenue recognized or realized? We can start to capture these types of metrics, view them in a report or a dashboard, again, leveraging Power BI and the power of project behind it. And finally, if we want to look at things like maybe show me the FY22 roadmap. Now we're leveraging that road mapping functionality, but beyond just a team, we're trying to look at it more enterprise-wide. And now what we can see is for the applications update. Here's all the projects within that particular program or business area that we have going on. These projects can come from Microsoft Project, or they can come from Azure DevOps. So we have the opportunity to extend this out to capture features and iterations and sprints, different Scrum or Agile activities, along with our traditional waterfall activities here that are going on in the different projects below them. And finally, we can start looking at portfolio dashboards. This is where Power BI again comes in. And maybe an executive wants to go to the PMO and say, hey, I want to know every program we have going on across the organization. Let's focus on a couple of these. Show me every program that has projects in the red. And these are some templates we have at PROJILITY. Annie mentioned Hammerhead, that are pre-built reporting templates and packs with data models behind them that'll help you aggregate information. So we can very quickly see in the programs, we've got the CRM program that has 4 projects in the red. SAP program has 4. The cloud migration has 1, but I'm really focused on the cloud migration. Show me in the cloud migration which project is in the red. And it's this health assessment project again. And for that project over here, what tasks or activities are pushing everything back? We have the ability to drill down into the data and see where we are from a spend and actual cost perspective. So we're okay on cost, but looks like we're way behind on schedule. That's something I really want to focus on as a manager or director, and I can focus my eye on this. And these reports are really great for being able to really narrow down problems, to look at programs or portfolios, drill into them, and see different subsets of data. So now we're doing program governance. We can look at a timeline of the program and see all the projects and how the flow of those projects is going to happen, whether it's an Agile or a waterfall project, doesn't make a difference. So we've got this ERP project, we've got a CRM one, those are Agile. We want to see any key milestones. So we may see for that Agile ERP project, rates, skills, different modules that are all features. We can capture our financials on our programs and report on those and track program level issues and risks too. Again, all coming through a Teams user interface. So from a PMO perspective, it becomes a very powerful tool set to aggregate the data. At the end of the day, the end user is getting all the information they need. We're using Teams as the aggregator. Now, and when we start looking beyond that, we look at more development-based organizations. So maybe we want to look at someone in a DevOps organization. So we'll look at the dev effort for this health assessment project. Let's get into that. Okay, and then we might have a tab here or a channel for DevOps. So our health assessment project involves waterfall and Agile work. It's a hybrid type of project. So what we want to do is create some views for the traditional PMO, which may be something like a PMO schedule. So in the PMO world, we're really concerned about dates, resources, and money. We want to know in our project, we've got 3 different features. When are they being delivered? How many hours are associated with them? And then what resources are associated so I can do resource planning. But in a DevOps world, I'm really concerned about progressing the work, creating fluidity. And this is where I can have a feature board. This is where I've integrated Azure DevOps in to see all the information about the different features we're building. So this integration with Outlook feature, what is it? What is it about? Who owns it? When does it start and finishing? And I have full visibility into these to even drag and drop these. If I am a Scrum Master, I can do it through Teams. Or if I want to look at today's storyboard, what are the stories, user stories my team is working on right now? I will see them all here. Again, this is coming from DevOps. We're viewing it all through Teams. Maybe I want a report that shows me the status of different sprints, looking in the DevOps system. And again, I can use Power BI to access this data. Now I see a sprint report that shows me maybe for my cloud team, show me all the committed work that hasn't been completed yet. And I can see all that in one place with things like a burn down and see the specific resources that are associated with each one and what our cycle times are. Or maybe I just want a general DevOps status. So again, we're using Teams as this unified user interface across different applications to bring the data together. So I can see within my Azure DevOps system, here's all the work Josh is working on right now. Here's all the activities. Here are the milestones. Here's the active user stories that are assigned to him across a specific project, program, or initiative. And finally, if we are using a third-party tool like a Jira, those tools all have plugins. So if I wanted to see all the Jira issues and see my project schedule from a PMO perspective, now we're tapping directly into Jira. I can see all the active Jira issues. I can see them on a board, and then I can drill into them right from here. It is fully interactive. And this is the nice thing about Teams. All these third parties are building plugins with Teams. So if you have a third party tool, there's a pretty good opportunity. There's a pretty good chance it's already integrated with Microsoft Teams. You can integrate that in with your structure. And it becomes really important to think about that structure, that crawl, walk, run, fly, and how that's going to look, even to the point as to where you're going to have people update their time. You may say, I want everybody updating their time in Project Online against agile work, against maintenance work, waterfall work, and non-project or administrative activities, but I want them progressing their progress or their tasks and activities in DevOps. Great way to do it. Build it all through Teams. People can see it and update it wherever they need to do it. You get the information you need at a PMO level. The Scrum Masters and the Agile teams get what they need to actually continue their work and create that fluidity and not create barriers. Okay. So these are some examples of how you can start to use Teams in those different scenarios we talked about. Hopefully this gave you some really good examples and got you thinking about kind of where you are as an organization. And as we think about that, the first step is always thinking about, where are you? Am I at a crawl stage and I need basic things? I'm more at a walk stage. I'm in a PMO environment. I need more functionality. Am I in a run phase where I'm a fairly maturing PMO and I need to add all this functionality or deploy this and I've got some agile in my environment too? Or do I get to the point where I'm really doing strategic portfolio management? Assessing where you are as an organization is really the first step to determining what you do next. So you've seen all this. This all looks really great. How do you get started? Start by planning is really the first step. You want to focus on at the top in red, the business outcomes, the why you need to actually go forward with a solution. What is that solution going to look like? We always say the second one is important because while you're going to be evaluating specific tools, keep an open mind that other tools may grow in your organization that you may not be aware of, and you need to think about a strategy for pulling them in. And using a tool like Teams will give you a good opportunity to let people work as they want to work in the tool, but pull that information together for visibility. And then you could use a tool like a Power BI for reporting. You also want to, in purple, develop a set of requirements for the tool or tools that you're going to be evaluating or you're going to be choosing and map it to specific products. Make a list of the pros and cons of each one and make a really good selection that fits with your organizational culture, your technology architecture, and your technology investments. And it's also something that's easy to use and easy to support. Down at the bottom, just because something says agile doesn't mean it doesn't have requirements. Even if you're going to go down the road of deploying these tools, don't do it in an agile way. We say go through a formal selection process, develop a set of requirements, and that ensures you select the right tool and then implement those tools as each tool needs to be implemented, which may be different. We see a lot of organizations kind of making an agile selection, and then the next thing you know, they've got 3 or 4 tools and none of them are really designed to work together. You want to also understand security. This is really, really big, and make sure you evaluate the security of any solution you go forward with. You know what the security story of a Microsoft solution is. You may not know for some of these third-party tools and applications, which may lead you back to maybe I'll just go with a Microsoft solution that gets me 80 or 90% of the way there, and then configure or customize it. And finally, remember, while end users are really important in the decision-making process, the people making the decisions are the people with the money, the people that run the business or run your agency or run your department. Don't leave them out of the equation, because if you let the end users choose the tools at the end of the day, they may leave, they may go somewhere else. You may be in a position where management didn't have a hand in choosing the tools, and then they don't have the information they need to make decisions. So it's really a balance between the people with the money and the need and the people that are going to use the tool to come up with a good balance there, we would say. Finally, before we get into some question and answer, we do want to let you know we do have some technology that we've developed, connector between PPM and Teams that'll help save you time, that'll help save some of that manual work. When you go and create projects in Project Online, it creates a team in Microsoft Teams with the different tabs of information. It aligns the security. It creates these tabs so it's visible, but it keeps the system of record, your project management application. And it allows the user interface to be Teams if you want it to. It has that flexibility. This is licensed from us as a technology accelerator, so it lives fully in your Office 365 environment. There's no security considerations around that at all is in there. It's all built on the Microsoft Power Platform, which is a platform a lot of organizations are actually driving to right now. And it does require Project Online, an active Microsoft Teams environment, and Power Platform to be active. But if you have that, this is a potential solution to linking your PPM environment in a walk and run scenario or even fly into Microsoft Teams. So if you're interested, definitely send Annie and I a note after the meeting and we'll set up a time to review that with you. So, hopefully we gave you some really good ideas, some ways you could use Teams based off your maturity, the different tools you have today, whether it's very simple or very complex or somewhere in the middle. At this point, we're going to open the floor to questions. Annie, do we have any questions in the queue?
Yes, we do, from Scott Walker. Can Project for the Web be used with private teams? I know Planner does not.
It's a really good question, Scott. So as of right now, I think they are public teams. We will follow up and get back to you on that, though. I think it's the standard public teams. I don't think it works with private teams yet, but we'll get back to you on that.
We can give everyone a couple more moments to put their questions in the Q&A manager. Well, if that's it for questions, we will wrap this up. To learn more about how Fragility can assist with developing a strategy or planning for your rollout integration between project and teams, or to learn more about our Teams connector, reach out and we'll set up a time to review your needs. I'm Annie Levan with Fragility. My contact information is listed here. Thank you for attending our webinar today. Have a great day.